All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are tackling a question that, let's be honest, almost every English learner obsesses over, especially when there's a big test looming.
So let's just get right to it. What's the real secret to sounding smarter in English? Is it all about cramming your brain with a massive vocabulary? Dropping these really impressive $5 words into every conversation? Well, a lot of people sure seem to think so.
A lot of us believe the key is to build this arsenal of advanced academic-sounding words, the kind that just sounds impressive. Words like esoteric, something that sounds like it's only for a chosen few who are in on the secret. Sounds pretty smart, right?
Or how about a word like capricious? It just adds this layer of intellectual flair when you're talking about something as simple as the weather, or maybe even your boss's mood.
And then, of course, you've got the quintessential smart word, quintessential itself. The whole idea is that using words like these makes you sound incredibly intelligent, super precise. And look, wanting to do this makes total sense. As the folks at Interactive English put it, words like these can make you sound more professional, more convincing. They give you a little bit more authority. I mean, who doesn't want that? But, and this is a big but, here's the twist. The very strategy that seems like a shortcut to sounding brilliant can actually be the thing that makes your score take a nosedive, especially when the pressure is on in a test like the IELTS. So what on earth is going on here? So to understand why, we've got to quickly look at the test itself. It's a real face-to-face conversation with an examiner, and it's broken down into 3 parts. It starts off pretty simple, with familiar questions, and then it gets progressively more complex and abstract. This really brings to mind this fantastic story from IELTS Advantage. They talk about seeing students who are totally fluent, totally natural, just chatting before class. But the second a mock test starts, boom, they switch into test mode. They get all robotic, the answers sound memorized, and a score that should be a 9 suddenly looks more like a 6.
It's kind of like that famous line from the movie Catch Me If You Can. When the con man character is asked how he passed the super difficult bar exam, he doesn't say he faked it. He says, I didn't cheat, I studied, and I passed. He was actually smart enough to do it for real. And that's the point. Examiners are looking for your genuine skill, not someone who's just trying to game the system.
Which brings us right back to that big question. Why does this strategy of trying to sound smart with fancy words so often just fall flat in a test? Well, the answer is hiding in plain sight. It's in the official marking criteria. Look, your vocabulary, what they call lexical resource, is just 1/4 of your score. That's it. It's only 25%. Your fluency, your grammar, your pronunciation, they are all equally important.
And on top of that, you have to remember, these examiners are pros. They do this all day, every single day. They are literally trained to hear when a student drops in a memorized phrase or uses a word that just doesn't quite fit. It's like a giant flashing red light for them.
Just think about it this way. Trying to use a cool idiom like over the moon, but messing it up, saying something like, I was over moon, that's a big error. The examiner would much rather hear you say something simple and perfectly correct, like, I was really happy about it. In this game, accuracy always beats sloppy complexity.
Okay, so if cramming a bunch of big words into your brain is the wrong way to go, what's the right way? Let's get practical. Let's break down the toolkit that the highest scoring students actually use.
All right, part 1. The questions are pretty straightforward. They're about you, your hometown, your hobbies. And the secret here? It's shockingly simple. Band 9 students do 2 things. First, they answer the question they were asked. And second, they add just a little bit more detail. Maybe a reason why, or a quick example. That's it. No big speech needed. Now, for part 2, the 2-minute talk. This is where so many people get trapped. They see those bullet points on the card and they treat it like a checklist they have to get through. But the top students, they do the opposite. They focus on the main topic. That gives them the freedom to talk more naturally and fluently, and they just use the bullet points as a little safety net if they get stuck. And then in part 3, where things get more abstract, the real power move isn't dropping in fancy nouns. No, it's using functional language. Little phrases like these, we call them discourse markers, they're the tools that help you build an argument, show you're considering different sides, and give examples. They're what signal to the examiner that you can actually handle a complex discussion. So, let's circle all the way back to where we started. Back to our friend quintessential. Does this mean you should never use words like this? No, of course not. Having a big vocabulary is an amazing tool to have. But here's the real secret, the key takeaway. It's not about faking it. It's not about memorizing a list of words, hoping you can trick an examiner. The real goal is to build your communication skills up to a point where using these smart words becomes a completely natural, accurate part of how you express yourself.
And that really just leaves one final question for you to think about in your own journey. Are you just studying to pass a test, or are you truly practicing to become a clear, confident, and effective communicator? Because the answer to that question, well, that's what's going to change everything. Thanks for joining me.